Good day, assessors. We're Group 1, and the group comprises of the following members. Miss Susan Colin Grant, Miss Tiana Card, Kevin Watson, Miss Kadian Campbell, Miss Shanara Banner, and Mr. Philip Warren. The group tonight only has 3 members present, owing to the fact that 3 or 4 members are unavoidably absent. Nonetheless, we'll be presenting on task A1, and members will be doing dual roles. For the technology officer and compensation and benefits officer, those roles will be played by Mrs. Susan Colin Grant. And for the recruitment officer and the HR secretary, those roles will be played by Miss Tiana Card. So as I mentioned earlier, we'll be presenting on task A1, which deals with planning and conducting a meeting with members of the HR department and audit findings by the Auditor General. And we'll get started. Good day, everyone. Thank you all for attending today's meeting. I want to welcome you all. Your attendance is truly appreciated as we address the important findings from the Auditor General. I am Kevin Watson, HR Manager. I'm going to ask everyone to introduce themselves. Starting with Mrs. Susan Collins Grant.
Susan Collins Grant, Compensation and Benefits Officer.
Okay, Susan.
I am Tiana Card. I am the HR Manager Secretary, and I will also be playing the role for the Recruitment Officer.
All right, thank you for that. First, before we get into the meat of the matter, let us invite the presence of the Most High. Let us pray. Most righteous and heavenly Father, as we gather today in this fashion, we ask for your guidance as we address the findings from the Auditor General. Grant us wisdom, clarity, and unity as we discuss these issues. Help us to approach this meeting with open minds and collaborative spirits, striving for solutions that uphold integrity and fairness. May our efforts lead to meaningful improvements and strengthen practices within our organization. Bless our discussions and decisions, and let them reflect our commitment to excellence and accountability. In your name we pray. So let it be. All right, so the purpose of today's meeting is to review the Auditor General's findings and work together to find effective solutions to the highlighted issues. So I'm gonna just do a brief overview of the Auditor General's finding. So the Auditor General's findings highlighted significant issues within our organization, including incomplete personnel records, lack of evidence for required health checks and local inductions, and concerns about nepotism and workplace relationships. These gaps indicate the need for improved compliance, proper documentation, and fair hiring practices. Before we discuss the findings and propose strategies to address them, I will give everyone a few seconds just to refresh the memory on the agenda items. Okay?
Okay, Mr. Kevin.
All right, so now let's discuss. What I've noticed is that a number of the Auditor General's finding highlighted the need for enhanced technological support for HR processes to potentially fix at least 5 issues, ranging from proper documentation to centralized storage, access control, and others. With the proper implementation and improvements to our human resource management system and a few procedural changes, we'll be able to fix these issues collectively. So let us explore these 5 areas for improvement first. All right, so 1, resulting from the finding, missing documentation for occupational health checks were identified in 2 out of 86 personnel files. And what I'm proposing, so to prevent this issue from recurring, we will transition to a digital human resources management system. So particularly the Human Resources Information System. This is a software designed to store, manage, and track electronic data. Some of the key features include centralized storage, access control, and a host of others. With this system, automated reminders for health checks will be sent to the relevant staff. Additionally, the appropriate training will be given to the staff to guide the improvement of our record-keeping processes. We will also do our regular audits and compliance checks. We will contact the 2 employees to complete the necessary health checks and ensure that they are properly documented and filed. Second finding, lack of technological support for processes and procedures resulting in difficulties in hiring and retaining younger employees. So we find it difficult to obtain and maintain young talents. Ms. Grant, what do you propose we put in place to address this concern? Ms. Grant, can you unmute and guide us this area, please? In relation to the acquisition and retention of young talents, what changes do you think we can make to our technological usage? Oh, Ms. Grant, you're muted. We're not hearing you.
To address this, the city of Jumanji has invested in modernizing processes and procedures, implementing digital solutions to enhance efficiency and productivity, update hardware, software, and infrastructure to support digital workflows and employee needs, provide training programs for employees to develop skills in using new technologies and digital tools. Also consider offering flexible work arrangements, including remote work options to attract and retain younger employees who value work-life balance and technology-enabled flexibility. Also foster an inclusive work environment that encourages employee feedback, ideas, and participation in shaping the organization's digital future.
All right, thank you for that contribution. Sounds wonderful. And Madam Secretary, are you here with us?
Yes, I'm here, Mr.
All
Watson.
right, sounds good. So along with the attendance register, that's already completed, right? The attendance
Yes.
register?
Yes, it is.
Sounds good. And I'm gonna ask that you, on the record, all the key points that I've decided on, you make notes for the action plan. All right, so kindly make notes in your minutes and for the action plan, all right? All the
Okay.
key points. All right. So that takes us to our next item. It was also highlighted that users were having access greater than that which is required to perform their jobs and to sensitive data that can be used to cause potential harm. Mrs. Grant, how do you propose we address this concern? Mrs. Grant, are you here with us?
Yes, I am. Sorry about that, sir. With the incorporation of the HRIS, we will be able to resolve this problem. We are going to conduct a role-based access review. By doing this, we will be able to access user roles and limit access to sensitive information based on job requirements. Grant users the minimum access necessary to perform their tasks. Restrict access to specific modules or features within the HRIS. Revoke unnecessary access and permissions from users. Establish a process for users to request access with appropriate approvals and justifications. We will also schedule periodic reviews, ensure users' access aligns with their current job responsibilities, and educate users on the importance of data confidentiality and appropriate use, while regularly monitoring and audit user activity to detect potential misuse.
All right, quite profound. Thank you very much for that contribution. All right, I see Madam Secretary is busy making notes. All right, so that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Thank you for that. So that takes us to our next agenda item. It was observed that 16 out of 66 personnel files lack completed interview assessment forms, and 30 out of 49 lack details of interview panel members. Ms. Card, how do you suppose we address these concerns?
Well, Mr. Watson, I think we should take this immediate action by identifying and completing these missing information. So we would immediately review all the personnel files to locate the interview's assessment forms and the panel member details, and to ensure that all the required information is completed and is also accurate. Some of the prevention measures that we can look at, I have 3 points here, is the standardized documentation, which is very, very important. So in this case, we will use the HRIS mentioned earlier to standardize HR documents, templates that clearly outline the required sections, including interview assessment forms and panel member details. Another thing we can do is to establish and review audit process. We will regularly review personal files to identify and to address any missing or incomplete information. So it's like regular checkup. We'll also conduct periodic audits to ensure it is in compliance with the documentation standards. And the final point, we would provide training and guidance. So we'll conduct training session for HR staff to become rather educated of the importance of accuracy and the guidelines to support and to also ensure and understand the following procedures.
All right, you know, I'm so proud of my HR staff. Very insightful, right? Very insightful. All right, so thank you for that contribution. Sounds great. Sounds as if those processes would definitely address that concern. All right, so for our next item, it was observed that 38 out of 64 personnel files lack evidence of the completion of local inductions. So to resolve this matter, we will be using the same very useful human resources information system, which was mentioned earlier. This will track to ensure timely completion and also proper documentation of all local inductions. Additionally, we will train HR staff and the updated process to ensure compliance and proper record keeping. Also, we will immediately identify the affected files and update the recruitment checklist to ensure local inductions are recorded thereon and keep them centralized in our human resources information system. So we went over the 5 items that can be fixed by incorporating the right technologies into our daily processes. All right, so I'm also seeing where with standardizing our job grading system and salary structure, we could adequately address 2 of the findings highlighted, which are 1, the lack of structure resulting in the same category of workers being offered different salaries.
Okay.
And 2, all positions appeared to lack job grades, ranking system, and salary ranges. Mrs. Grant, as the compensation and benefits officer, how can we address these concerns?
Based on the audit finding, we will conduct a thorough job analysis to identify responsibilities, skills, and requirements for each position. We will develop a grading system based on experiences, education, complexity, and factor. Establish salary ranges for each grade level, considering the market rate and internal equity. Provide training for managers and HR staff to ensure understanding and consistent applications. We'll communicate with our employees explaining the rationale and benefits. We will also develop a clear compensation policy to outline the new pay grade and salary structure here at Jumanji City Hall.
All right, sounds good. Thank you for that. All right, so that is settled. And see where Madam Secretary took her notes. Another highlight from the finding was that 18 out of 67 personnel files lack evidence that recruiting to vacancies had been authorized. Ms. Card, can you guide us on the way forward on this one?
Okay, so on this matter, Mr. Watson and team members, we will develop a clear and concise procedure for authorizing new recruitments. This process should outline the necessary steps, required approvals, and documentation. We will ensure that the recruitment activities, including job posting, interviews, and offers, are initiated only after obtaining written authorization from the appropriate authority. We will also conduct training sessions to educate all the relevant staff members on the importance of authorization process and as well as the steps involved. Another thing that we will do is to provide clear guidelines and also examples to ensure understanding, because we have to have examples so that persons can get a visual understanding of what is going on. Another thing that we will do is to conduct regular audits to ensure compliance. So periodically review personnel files and recruitment records to verify that all the authorizations are in place, and to also identify non-compliant cases and take the corrective action.
All right, thank you for that. That sounds wonderful. All right, so another finding shows that nepotism and fraternization is prevalent among department heads, which causes workers to question our approach to fairness and transparency in our practices. We cannot have that. Quite sensitive.
Right.
Definitely too sensitive. All right, so to address these concerns, we will first develop and implement clear guidelines that explicitly prohibit favoritism in hiring and workplace relationships that may affect impartiality. These policies will be communicated to all staff with particular attention to the department's head through a series of lectures by our training officer. All right, so another finding shows 6 out of 86 personnel files lack evidence that candidates' identities had been verified. Ms. Card, you're up again. So how do you suppose we address this one and prevent?
Okay, so first, thank you, Mr. Watson. So first thing, what we plan to do is that we will implement a standardized identity verification process. So in this process, we will establish clear procedures for verifying candidates' identities, including checking documents and also conducting background check, which is very, very important. We'll also ensure that all candidates undergo verification before hiring. We'll educate staff on the importance of verification and how to conduct it effectively. You understand? And another thing is to conduct regular audits. I cannot stress the point on how important this part is. So here we will do revision of personnel files and to make sure that everything is in compliance with the rules and regulations. And another thing, which is very important, is to do regular updates. So we'll update these procedures regularly to stay informed of the best practices and also to adjust our verification process accordingly in case there is any fault along the way. Those are the solutions to address the issue mentioned.
All right, thank you for that contribution. Sounds good. All right, so take us to our next finding. So they're seeing non-compliance with and deviation from the recruiting policies,
Okay.
right? Which led to lack of clarity in defining roles and responsibilities. How do you suggest we address this, Ms. Carter?
Okay, so based on everything that have been going on, you realize that it's a trend. So one of the first things we have to ensure is that we need to reinforce the policy compliance to everybody. So we will clearly communicate and enforce existing recruitment policy. Also, we will review and update these policies to ensure that it is up to date with the current practices, provide training, educate the staff. If you realize based on all the solution that I have been given is to educate the staff, because if the staff are not educated, then there's no way we can move on, right, Ms. Grant? Another one is also to implement a monitoring system. Yes, correct. Yes, to implement a monitoring system to track adherence to the policies and to address any deviation promptly. Another thing we are going to do is to conduct regular review, which is very important. So we will evaluate the effectiveness of the policies and make the necessary adjustment.
All right, sounds good. All right, thank you for those insightful contributions. All right, so we're still with you, Ms. Card. All right. All right, so we're relying heavily on you, right, to correct
Okay.
most of these findings. All right,
Okay.
or make suggestions that can
Help, right.
definitely. All right, so just observe that employees are being told that there is a contract of service on their files, but the wording resembles that of a contract for service. And this resulted in a lawsuit. So we're currently facing litigation because of this. So this is very important to us. All right, so I want for you to go ahead and tell us how you believe we can definitely address this one adequately.
Okay, so I have a number of solutions. I'm just going to quickly run through. The first thing we can do to help with this lawsuit is to review and revise in the contracts, ensure that all employee contracts are accurately reflect the nature of the employment relationship. Also to seek legal advice, it is very important. So to consult with an employment lawyer to review the existing contract and to also provide guidance on drafting new ones that comply with the local labor laws. The training of HR staff, that's another one as well. Communicating clearly with employees is so important, because if there's no communication, then there is going to be no understanding. And the final point is to hold on a second, my eyes is kind of dimming right now. But yeah, it's to documenting the employment relationship. So to maintain clear and consistent documentation of the employee's duties, responsibilities, and also the nature of these relationships. Back to you, Mr. Watson.
All right. Thank you, Miss Card, rather, and Mrs. Grant, right, for your meaningful and useful contributions. All right. So, Ms. Card,
Sir?
I suppose you have documented all the takeaways or all the points highlighted.
Yes, I have.
Solutions. All right. So when you have completed the minutes, I want for you to just share it with me so I can go over. All right. So we can agree and then move on to our action plan. All right.
Okay.
Sounds wonderful. And then, we'll prepare the memorandums for all the departments.
Okay.
All right. So again, I want to thank you all for coming. I'm very proud of my capable team. All right. You put a permanent smile on my face. All right.
Right.
All right. So I can say that this was a productive meeting. All right.
Agree.
Who will move the motion for adjournment? Or you want to spend a little longer time?
I so move, sir.
Okay. Second?
I second it.
All right. So have yourself a wonderful day and thank you for attending again.
Okay,
All
welcome.
right.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.